Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Now today I want to talk to you about my 3 months challenge. Now part of my 3 months challenge was one, is to create a video, which hence what I'm doing here, and two is to go out and take some pictures out and about. So what I thought I might do today was I might show you the pictures that I took and how I edit them. Now the tutorial I'm going to give you today is not how you should do it, it's how I do it. In no way or shape or form do I do it in a professional way. I don't say I'm professional at all. For me, I'm actually still learning, I'm still learning loads. So, you know, these are the things I've just picked up from other YouTubers, from watching just stuff online. So in no way, shape or form should you copy this. You can if you want to, but like I said, I am not professional, so don't hold me to it. So let's go ahead and look at the photos.
Right guys, so here we are. Now, just to show you just this here, this is probably one of my favourite applications on the Mac store. It's called Unsplash Wallpapers. I absolutely love it, just because I don't personally do enough of my wallpapers, and I don't have good enough photos to go putting it on. So Unsplash Wallpaper, it allows photographers and other people just to upload high resolution photos to Unsplash, and here you can see that it allows you to use their photos as wallpapers. Now there's various different types, there's like oceans, different landscapes, there's even something like that, where you can easily download it, see who it's made by, and you can set it as their wallpaper, which I think is amazing. I absolutely love this feature. I use it all the time. I just love it, and I use it on my phone as well. Just going on that Unsplash app, going through photos, seeing which one I like, and then using it as my own screen is absolutely gorgeous. But anyway, so let's go into Lightroom. Now I've already gone through some of these photos because I took about 200 of photos. So these are probably one of my favorite ones. Now, to give you a sort of background, I basically went into Nottingham City Centre, took my best friend Jer, and we just said, look, we're just going to go out to some photos. We don't know where it's going to take us, so let's do some editing. And as you can see with a lot of these photos, I basically bought myself, I bought my girlfriend a lens ball, and they're fantastic to use, and they're so much fun, just because you can get such a nice image from it, and it's such a weird and sort of outcasty look to it. So let's go ahead and go through these photos. Now this one I sort of went with the landscape. Oh, by the way, if you're hearing a noise, that is my laptop fan. I'm having issues on my iMac with the audio, it's lagging a lot. So I'm having to swap and using my laptop. So apologies for the noise fan. Now here, as you can see, is one of the lens ball shots. Now like I said, it gives it that unusual look because it's coming through something, and it's really fun to use, and it gets your creative mind going, because as you can see, it's held the right way, but the image you get from inside of it is upside down, which is a lot of fun. So you can either flip it so it's like this, or upside down. I prefer it upside down. There may be some shots which it works sort of upside down like this, but sometimes it doesn't work. So I'm gonna edit this. So let's just go through. So to me that's a little bright, so I'm just gonna turn it down slightly, and again I prefer a flatter look. Turn down the highlights here, draw out the shadows, pull up the whites a little bit, and crush the black slightly. Okay, and then go to my tone curve here. Now this is where for me, is where most of the edit comes from. Yeah, so if I turn the tone curve off, it looks very flat. But with the tone curve, there's so much contrast going on. You know, you can see the whites being. See, I don't want them too blown out. And again, like the blacks are quite crushed. You just have a look to see where it's affected. For me, that's quite nice. I like that. So he's not going away too much from the original. It's just sort of it's a lot of contrast in it, and the blacks are just a little bit crushed. So with this photo, I prefer to have the clarity a little bit up, just sharpen it a little bit. I'm just going to bring the contrast, the vibrance down, sorry, and then the saturation back up. Now to me, that's quite a nice photo, as it is. But just mess around with the colours. Now with the sort of the hue, I don't tend to mess around with it too much. I tend to mess around with the saturations and the luminance a lot more. There's only certain situations where I would affect the hue, but for this I tend to not to. I prefer messing around with the saturation to get that overall look. So for me, his skin colour is a little bit too popped out. Just going to turn it down slightly. Again, I'm just going to put this there. The greens right there. Blues just to pull up the skies a little bit. And then luminance. So tend to just blow the skin out a little bit, sort of create that sunlight effect that is hitting his hand. Now with the lights here, I don't want it too dark because then it just doesn't look right. So I tend to, as you can sort of tell that it's light. So to blow it out, it makes more sense. Just blow out the blues a little bit. And again, this is where I sort of like to be creative. Now again, I could go for this sort of green look. Make it really cold. I actually really like the look of that, so I'm just going to keep that there. Now, with the colours, you don't want to you want to try and go for things that work together. So if you look like a colour wheel, you want sort of colours that are working opposite to each other, so opposite ends of the scale. Okay, I quite like that here. Now again, I would do what I don't want to do is I don't want a proper vignetting here. I just want a slight vignetting like that, just to make your eyes drawn to the lens ball. Now with this setting here, dehaze, I do mess around with it a little bit, just because it crushes the blacks one way, or you could blow it out. So I tend to, for me, if I'm ever going to use dehazing, I always sort of tend to blow out the blacks. So take the blacks out. Now I quite like that. I don't tend to have it really high like this. I tend to just go for the subtlety, and say -3. So something like that. So again, this is the original, and this is the after. I quite like that. Now with this one, I sort of like to play around with this one, because what you don't see is the lens flare. So before this tutorial, I actually went onto YouTube to look at how to create sort of your own lens flare, and I picked up some interesting things which I will quickly show you. So let me just quickly do my basic correction. I'll just go through this very quickly. So again, the clarity wants to go up. I just want to sharpen it very slightly. I think with this one it's quite a flat looking picture anyway. With this bit here with the white balance, I don't tend to mess around with it too much depending on the photo. I might just warm it up slightly, just so you can see. Again, just mess around with the shoes. Brighten that. Bring that up too. And just to give you a bit of context, during the day, it actually wasn't that sunny. There was some sunny spells, but a lot of it was very cloudy. Now this shot in particular, the sun just came out of the clouds and we were like, just gotta rush and get into it. We just had to get the sun in there, because I love natural lighting. I think it's if you can get natural lighting, go for it. It's just so nice to work with. There's no having to set up or anything, and at the time I think it was quite harsh lighting, hence you can see the sort of reflection here. Now, right, so lens flare. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to this adjustment brush here. Now a lot of these settings are already done, they've already set. So you want your exposure up, contrast down, and then shadows up, and then crush the blacks. Now the blacks you can sort of change. Here the color, you can select a color you want. So if you're going for that sort of sunny look, this is the setting I would go for. Now here, so this is the part where you sort of just go where you want to. So I would just create this here. Now with this you can sort of just move it. So I don't want it actually, that's really, for me that's a little bit too orangey. Just turn it down slightly, something there maybe. Yeah. So like I said before, with the lens flare, you can sort of just work with it. Ooh, just created another one. And just decide where you want it really. So this here, I don't want it as a main focus like this. This is too lens flare, too much. And so I prefer it to have it in the corner so it's nice and subtle. Maybe just warm it up slightly. For me that's still too orange. And this is what I meant before, how I'm still learning things. And like I said, this idea was from YouTube. I literally just went onto YouTube to have a look and see how I could create this. So let's have a look with it off. So that's with it off, and this with it on. Now for me, that's not too bad. I can get away with that. It's not perfect. For me, the colors just aren't right. So I might bring the saturation down. See, you see here, it's too orange. For me, that's too orange. So you can sort of mess around with it here. So bring the color temperature down. That. Something like that I like because it's subtle. and it makes sense that it's coming from that corner and into his eye there. So for me, I like that. Okay, so the next one I want to sort of work on is this. Now, when I first went out, what I actually wanted to do was I wanted to do a bit of portrait, but we sort of got carried away and ended up playing with the lens board more. So here we sort of just went, there's a nice little bush, I like to use this. So here my exposure was majorly off, so let's just turn this down. So that I like. Just bring it up slightly just to give it a bit of brightness. So again, I'm going to turn down the contrast, give it that flat look, turn down the highlights, bring up the shadows, bring up the whites a little bit, and then crush the blacks, tone curve. Again, we just want this sort of basic S shape sort of curve here. That's sort of one I go for. Now here, again, I don't want the blacks to be too predominant. Now with this, I think the image is very sharp, so I'm just going to turn it down slightly. And vibrance is very poppy, if you can have a look see. It's very orangey, so I'm just going to turn it down slightly and then bring the saturation back up, like that. Now again, I'm just going to adjust his skin tones. The greens, I want to pop out a little bit more, like that. And again, I'm just going to bring down the skin tone slightly. Like that. Yep, I really like that. I'm just going to take his, I'm just going to add a bit more red just to give him a little bit of a blush in his cheeks. And then I'm just going to desaturate the greens a little bit so it's not too predominant, like so. And again, I'm just going to darken his skin actually this time. Rather than blowing it out, I'm just going to darken it so it's him that's the subject rather than the foreground, like so. So I'm just going to brighten up the foreground so you sort of get this darker and then you get this brighter foreground, so your main focus is going to be on him. So the highlights again. Now with this, I sort of want that sort of greeny look like I said before, just because obviously you can see some plants in the background, so you sort of go for this nature look. So you got to find a one that sort of colours that work for that colour. Now green, I quite like it with the blues actually, something like this. Yeah, so you could go really warm, autumn look, but I think I'm going to go with the blues. I really like that. So let's just have a look at the before. So that's before and this is after. I quite like that. Now the only issue I have with this is the actual composition. Now composition is very sort of important. I'm just going to turn this down. I like to have a sort of a rule of third. Might get his eyes sort of. So for me, I like to play with the rule of third. It's one of the most basic compositional tools. Now you want your image, your subject in 1/3, but for me, I sort of like to work along with the sort of crosshairs, so something like that, and just a little bit inwards, so act a little bit more central, like that. I really like that as a composition. So that's before and that's after. So with this, I think I might work with the dehazing, just because I don't want the blacks to be too predominant here, like so. So again, I'm just going for that subtlety Like literally -2 is perfect. Just having that. And it gives it sort of that film grain look. Now Lightroom does have grain that you can add. For me it is a little bit too heavy. But again, you can, a lot of photo work you have to work with subtleties. So something like this, like that. Yeah, I like that a lot. So slight vignette like that, just to get him to focus on the subject. And I really like that as a picture actually. I really like that. So that is the sort of stuff that I do. That's how I sort of edit, and that's the sort of things that I think of when I'm taking a photo. And that's how the sort of things I edit, and that's how I edit. So sort of the basics is going through the sort of the basic correction. I like playing with the tone curve, and then with the sort of the colors and stuff. Like I said, I don't normally go with the hues. For me, I like to play around with the saturation and luminance, just to balance the whole picture out. And again, this split toning here, I like to just sort of mess around and give it a certain look. And then for my final phase, I sort of just do the effects. So a slight vignetting or a slight dehazing. Grain I don't tend to mess around with too much because I don't particularly like that film look. For me, I kind of like the sort of more modern look, quite sharp. Well, not sharp, but sort of blurry and that sort of stuff. So that is my editing workflow. If you do like it, give it a thumbs up, give this video a thumbs up. If you head to my Instagram page, which is here, and go check out all of the photos I've taken and all the ones I've edited. And I hope you like this tutorial, and like and subscribe. See you later guys, bye.